Good day to everyone listening today. Welcome to Quarantine Ventures. This is your host, Tiffany Barrios from Dianne Pascal. For today's topic, we will talk about my experiences and realizations from the quarantine. So sit back and hopefully you can enjoy. The quarantine caused an uproar among the masses, but for me who enjoys staying at home, it was quite quiet. And there's one thing that grew in the quarantine: my boredom. To be honest, it wasn't quite that boring at first. I mean, I got to do whatever I want, but as time passed by, I lose interest in the things that I want to do. For instance, I want to finish that series, but after 2 seasons, I just realized that I don't care anymore. Then, when some of the feelings of emptiness come in, I know this is kinda dramatic, but I think there was a time when I woke up, I stared at the ceiling for 10 minutes straight while my mind is completely blank. It's not really that serious. It disappeared after I found out that there's a new update on my favorite manga. But at that time, I also realized that there are many unknown things to be expected. What fun would it be if I could discover all of those interesting things, right? My adventure continues at that time when I need to relocate from Salawag to General Trias, since we own a house there. The subdivision we also live in is, in my cousin's words, looks like a ghost town. I can't blame him. It really does look like a ghost town. But the upside is it's quiet, and the feeling of fresh air can be quite refreshing. The journey ahead can be described in one word: taxing. I supervised 3 dogs all at once beside me in a moving car. All 3 dogs were squishing on me on my seat from left to right, and their saliva kept dripping on my leg. But they're cute, and I love them. It's actually not bad as it seemed. Although there was one time when they saw another dog with its head outside the window barking at us, and my dog suddenly had the urge to jump out of the window while we were in a moving car treading in a highway. We were literally in chaos, but it's not bad. But that's not where it ends. As we reached our home at General Trias, what greeted us in our porch is another dog. My dad introduced me to him. According to him, he named him Burger, since his color looks like the color of bread in a burger. Well, my dog became frenzied when they saw Burger. I tried my best to control him, but turns out my best wasn't good enough. Probably because of tiredness, I just give up and let them run around. They're smart. They will surely find their way home. And I'm really right. They really did. Then after that, Burger just kept coming into our house whenever he feels like it. Sometimes, we even gave him some food. Burger's a stray dog. He sometimes comes to our house to relax and just lay down while obviously asking for a head pat and a belly rub. Don't worry, I disinfect my hands after playing with him. Although it started in a chaotic manner, I guess I discovered that I love dogs more than ever after that. Can you believe I even considered wanting to become a veterinarian after that? Well, you can't expect everything to be as adventurous as that. My boredom actually led me into discovering something great. I admit, I am quite a boring person. I don't know if that's how others see me, but that's how I see myself. Really different than the characters of a manhwa I've been obsessing about. Because of the much free time I had, I kinda developed an obsession with light novels, manhwa, and manga. Specifically, if it's about isekai or rebirth. The first time I discovered it, I was actually quite skeptical, but when I read the first chapter, I didn't even know I created an account to the website in order to bookmark that story and find more things like it. At that time, I was really obsessed with historical manhwas, wherein the main character transmigrated as a villainess of an otome game or a novel, and he or she will do whatever it takes to avoid their death flags. One that I would like to recommend is Death is the Only Ending for the Villainess. It's about Penelope Acard being reincarnated in an otome game as an adopted daughter of a duke. For those who don't know what otome game is, it's a story-based video game wherein the player has the goal to develop romantic relationship between the captured targets. In order to survive, she must pick one of the captured targets and make them 100% fall in love with her. The art is simply breathtaking. Whenever I'm reading every chapter of it, I can't help but be amazed at how good the art style is. About the storyline, though, let me just say this. This is embarrassing, but I cried in some of the chapters. Besides having an interesting form of plot, one of the reasons why I loved Rebirth and Isekai stories is probably because some of the characters are anti-hero. Like, in people's views inside the story, they are evil, but the truth is, they are quite soft-hearted. Not like some villains, they have bottom line. It showed me a new perspective that everything is more than what meets the eye. And it really helped on how I adjusted my views into becoming more neutral rather than biased. One thing I realized about reading stories of main characters experiencing betrayal is that you can never truly know a person until you see their situation in your perspective. Now, another thing that I realized while I was reading is how I am different compared to the main characters. I mean, they all have these traits that made them stand out, and me, well, I'm boring. And I think it's awesome. Because boring just means I have more time to explore and chances to deepen my understanding of myself. At least, unlike them, I don't have any death flags floating around. Not only did I gain an interesting new perspective from this experience, I also love myself more than before. I felt lucky being who I am. Speaking of stories during the quarantine, I developed a new hobby. It was writing poems. I don't know how I came into that hobby, but I guess I just like how the words at the end rhyme, and that somehow it makes sense to something really beautiful. I tried creating mine whenever, but it's not as good. But hey, there's plenty of time for improvement. All I have to do is take my time and enjoy myself. And I gotta admit, it really helped on releasing some of my pent-up emotions and still feel satisfied on the result despite how messed up it is. Actually, despite me repeating the word boring time and time again, I can say that not all of them are bad. This quarantine also gave me a chance to get used for something new. For example, that time when my parents thought that since we siblings are completed and the churches are closed, we scheduled a Bible group study every evening. My mother made efforts. She downloaded all worship songs all afternoon and made us listen to it the whole dinner. And I gotta admit, some of them are catchy. But by the start of Bible study, we siblings have each Bible holding in our hands. We even have a highlighter for pointing out the proverbs that my dad will discuss. My dad asked me to lead the prayer, and I did. Although I felt reluctant, I just went with it. And as the discussion started, I realized on how I knew so little about the contents of the Bible. I realized that some of these are actually quite useful, and that is how the bond in my family grew stronger and how my understanding in Christianity got deeper. Oh, I just remembered this just now. This is the most awkward encounter I had in my stay in General Trias. It was afternoon. I think the weather was good and the breeze of the air was refreshing until I decided to buy some popcorn since I planned on binge watching something in Netflix. As I turned left in our street, a guy on a bike asked me for directions and I just stared at him for 5 seconds straight. It's like my mind is waiting itself to load. I literally got a mental block. Thankfully, after some time, I managed to muster up 5 words indicating my response. Derecho, left, first street. Then he said thank you. I'm embarrassed, but I would just like to think that he reaches that destination and those 5 words are enough. I'm so ashamed of myself. I sprinted to the store quickly to buy a popcorn and hide in my room. That's when I realized I got a situation, that my social skills are at rock bottom. Then from that point on, I challenged myself that 2 times a week, I will go to that store and every time someone buys at the same time as me, I would initiate a conversation with them. Well, and here's the thing. I lied about some things in my story. You see, my life can be that adventurous. The truth is, I'm boring, and I like it that way. But if there's one thing that I realized within the given time myself is that I like making stories even if it's just a simple encounter. I guess that's the advantage when you're bored. You can level up the uninteresting things and turn it into something interesting, and you won't care because you're happy because of it. You would share it to your friends in an exaggerated manner, and even though they knew some of it wasn't true, they would still laugh at it with you, and you would cherish every single second of it. I never got to fix my social skills, and although I tried what I said in here, I backed out the second time I was doing it. So I guess what I learned is, even though I'm far from them, I was never alone. And having conversations with the people I cherish is enough to consider that my social skills aren't at rock bottom at all. Don't get me wrong, most of the things that I said were true. It just occurred to me that most of the things that you tell to people are the truth, but there's always a lie. Speaking of lies, this is where my online class journey comes in. I thought that it would just be like the usual classes, but no, it's not. You see, I have this comforting feeling every time we are tasked to do something and the deadline is really close, but then I haven't even finished it yet. It got worse during the online classes. You see, the root of it was actually lies. Whenever I need to do something, I promise myself to do it, and yet I don't. I always procrastinate and find reasons not doing it. I think it was because I became quite lax. I guess I underestimated the burden of schoolworks. At that time, I was really panicking and my mind is all over the place because my body got used to vacation mode, and it forgot how to switch to working mode. But by the use of desperation, pulling all-nighters, and perseverance, I managed to pass with good grades. I can say that every time I do something, the only inspiration I had that time was the deadline. Although sometimes I wholeheartedly do some of the tasks that caught my interest or just plain easy peasy lemon squeezy. I can't really say that my online class journey was smooth. I think we all experienced some difficulties, not only spiritually but also mentally. But thank God we got through them all. So look and be proud of yourselves that you survived. Not everybody did, but your presence today is the sole evidence that you are strong. This brings us to the end of this topic. Thank you for joining me during an exciting discussion of my experiences and realizations before the face-to-face period. I hope you enjoyed this, and thank you for listening in Quarantine Ventures. This is Tiffany Barrios signing out. Take care, peeps.